If you live in a big city such as Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City, you will easily notice a typical problem of most crowded cities, which is waste, especially solid waste. According to statistics, in Hanoi only, on average every day, people in the capital release from 7 to 7.5 tons of trash into the environment, equivalent to 0.8 kilogram per person per day. This has posed a huge challenge for the urban environment as the population is increasing while the development of waste treatment processes and technology still lags behind. Awareness of environmental issues in recent years has been increasing at many levels of society. Realizing that the main cause of environmental pollution from waste is the living habit of humans, many positive movements in the community have been launched to promote a green, environmentally friendly lifestyle. Initially, a few individuals pioneered separate activities, then many organizations have been established with more professional projects, including Keep Vietnam Clean, KVC. Keep Vietnam Clean was established with the mission of promoting and inspiring sustainable lifestyle and environmental health throughout Vietnam. Welcome the audience to Station Vietnam, Chat Vietnam. The program is broadcast on VTC10. And today we are going to have a stimulating talk with a CEO of a social enterprise, which is Keep Vietnam Clean. Please welcome and introduce Mr. Douglas Snyder to our show today.
Thanks very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So we are really curious about the story when you and your friend began your, picking trash campaign in Vietnam. Can you share more about this story?
Sure. So I actually joined a couple months after the beginning, the very, very beginning. So James Kendall, an English teacher, gathered a bunch of his friends, about 10 or 12 friends, and they went into a canal in Hanoi and they kind of cleaned up the trash. And it went viral after that. Like a week later, he was in the Wall Street Journal. So it became very popular. And I joined, so that was May of 2016, and I joined in July of 2016. And I thought this was a great hands-on opportunity, and then that was it.
So what was the reaction of Vietnamese people when they see you and your friends picking the trash in Vietnam?
Yeah. Mostly positive. We get a lot of thumbs up. In the very beginning, there was some question from some local officials about how we were doing things, because we were bringing attention to the problem of trash that hasn't been collected, and for some people they felt we shouldn't be engaged in that. And fortunately the mayor of Hanoi, the chairman of the People's Committee of Hanoi, stepped in and said, look, you're doing good work.
So during your operation, I know that you and your friend, your organization implemented a lot of projects in Vietnam. So which project left the deepest impression in you?
I think the one that I'll talk about is Om Tao. The reason I think it's special is because it's visually very dramatic and it's also culturally very relevant. So visually, because during Om Tao, right before Tết, a lot of people, the tradition, as most everybody knows, is you bring fish as an offering to the river or the lake, and that helps bring the message of your family to heaven. But unfortunately, with the invention of modern materials, namely plastics, the way it becomes celebrated is people will throw things into the river or the lake, a lot of times made of plastic, and they don't biodegrade. And sometimes even the fish is inside the bag with the water and they throw the whole thing into the river. Of course, that's bad for the river and bad for the fish because the fish can't get out of the bag. So visually, seeing people throw things into the river that really don't work in that ecosystem is kind of, for me, it's kind of shocking. So, but of course, it's a wonderful holiday and it's a very interesting story around the holiday. So We wanted to find a way to protect the culture and the tradition, but also protect the environment at the same time. So it's a kind of a really interesting and fascinating challenge, and I think very worthwhile. One of the reasons it also touches me is that we've been doing it for 8 years, and I think slowly we see more change where people are more aware that they're willing to say, yes, okay, I will put the fish in the river and I'll give you the plastic bag, instead of just us having to fish out the plastic bags from the river. So there's been this slow change of awareness in just the average everyday person during the holiday. Yep.
We do know that plastic bags are so harmful to the environment, but to switch plastic bag to another product is really hard. Do you have any recommendation or suggestions for people in Vietnam?
I mean, I think the suggestion is just to remember where we were in the 70s and the 80s when we didn't have plastic bags. Like we managed to survive. When I grew up, you know, we didn't even have containers for soft soap. We just used bar soap. I think we can look back to what we used to do and bring back some of those practices and remember that. And I think also look at the impact of single-use plastic and how that affects our environment. I mean, now we know that plastic particles are in our blood and in the organs, and which means it's in our children. So is that something we really want to do? So we need to, perhaps we need plastic in some uses, but we need to be much more proactive in choosing where we're using plastic and where we're not using plastic. Even the chemicals in the plastic get into our food. So if we really want to take care of ourselves and take care of the planet, we need to start making some decisions.
Clearly understanding that just trash-picking projects can hardly create significant improvement in community awareness of environmental issues, KVC promotes and focuses on educational and communication activities in addition to social movements. Recently, KVC successfully organized the second International Nature Film Week with the message, Where Nature Stories Ignite Action, with vivid film scenes about the environment like funny adventures connecting nature-loving souls through the screen. This creative educational activity has grabbed the attention of many families and young people. Through the films, the love for nature is strongly aroused, motivating young people to take practical and timely actions to protect the environment, which is suffering from huge damages due to pollution and climate change. So are the picking trash activities the main part of your organization? And beside that, do you have any other projects? I know that you have projects on agriculture, right? Can you share more about that?
Sure, yeah. So yeah, we started in cleaning up trash, which is kind of solid waste. We still are active in that. We've definitely expanded into other areas. Like you mentioned, we have agriculture, which is related to our climate program. And the reason why it's climate is because rice farming, a lot of people don't know this, but is a huge contributor of greenhouse gases, especially for Vietnam. There are ways to do farming that are more sustainable. And fortunately, the ways that are adapted to climate change, they're like resilient to drought, that don't need as much water, are also ones that use less chemicals, which means they cost less. Means they're also the ones that pollute the environment less and are less dangerous to the farmer and even to the consumer when they get the vegetables or the food, that they're going to have less chemicals in them. So we had a climate smart agriculture program, regenerative agriculture for health and the environment program, and we did that with USDA, the US Embassy, and the German Embassy, and basically teaching farmers in northern Vietnam about how to do that and doing some demonstrations also actually with our other partner, the Vietnam National University of Agriculture. We do also have our Green Gem Shop, which is a for-profit venture that takes donated clothing and we wash it and then we resell it and other types of green products. But that actually is a revenue generator to support a lot of our other nonprofit activities. So we've also recently started doing consulting. So we've been working with MAG, which is a mine clearing organization. There's only 3 organizations that clean up old bombs from the American War, and so mostly in Quang Tri, in the middle of Vietnam. So our consulting is going into that, and also into zero waste for factories. So we're looking at, we've had an environmental engineer on our team that has a zero waste accreditation. So we're looking to expand also into that. So yeah, we're moving into many different directions.
I see that you do have a lot of activities in your organization, right? But I see most of these activities are dealing with some current problems in Vietnam, like the land pollution, the water pollution. But in long term, we do need to focus on the direction of education and communication, right? Which group of like people do you focus on when you try to have the educational programs to change their perception of?
Okay, sure, yeah. So education is a few groups. So it's school-age kids, so K through 12, basically. Then it's also going to be local communities. So we have a few community projects where we go in and kind of do a makeover of the neighborhood. And that's a great opportunity for us to engage local people and talk with them about environmental impact of their neighborhood and the land. And then the other is with our consulting activities, a lot of that is education of the employees of companies. You know, let's take a look at your operations and what is the impact of what you're doing and how can you do better and be more kind of environmentally responsible.
I know that recently you have a very great activity, which is their International Film Festival about nature. And I see that it's a great way to educate young people to like have more awareness to protect our environment. Could you share more about the process to like have this idea and how challenging it is to do this?
Sure. So the idea actually came from the Spanish Embassy. Spanish Embassy did the inaugural first year of the Nature Film Festival 2 years ago, and they then wanted to kind of hand it over to a local organization to localize the event. So the event was, the concept of the event was to have many different embassies choose a film that represents nature in their country, and then host a film showing, an event for the showing, and over a 10-day period. And we participated in it as an attendee last year, and that was fantastic, or 2 years ago, and that was fantastic. And then we were really honored to be chosen to kind of carry that forward to this year. So we worked still with the Spanish Embassy, and they helped make introductions to all the other embassies. So then it's a matter of kind of communicating, saying, hey, you're an embassy, please choose a fantastic film about nature that represents your country, a story that you want to tell. Then the films need to be translated, they need to get censorship permission, and then we need to recruit a venue, hopefully a sponsored venue, so that we can have the showing.
Thank you so much for your love to Vietnam. And once again, thank you so much for all of your contributions to our environment, our Vietnam. And once again, thank you so much for joining our talk show today. It's really inspiring. Really.
Thank you so much. It's all my pleasure.
So that is the end of our station Vietnam Chat Vietnam today on VTC10. Thank you so much for watching and hope to see you in the next episode. Goodbye.